I'm Peter Bois, nationally touring magician.
And I'm Gus Davis, nationally touring game show host.
We don't get regular Saturday nights because we are out performing on the weekends.
That's why Mondays are so special to us. They are our Saturdays.
We will help you get through your Monday by joining us on our Saturday.
Monday is the new Saturday.
Welcome to Monday Club.
Oh, yeah, it's Monday! Welcome all you Monday warriors out there. It is time for Monday Club. I am here with my friend, Mr. Pete Bois. I'm Gus Davis. We're here to be your masters of Monday. This week, we have a special guest. CJ Johnson joins us in the studio. It's going to be awesome times. We also have a cheers to awkward public bathroom moments. Gus and Pete pick CJ's brain. This week we talk about what's happening in the news, but on the good side of it, CJ and Gus gang up on Pete. We learn a little bit more about CJ, and of course this week's teachable moment. Stick around, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Welcome to Monday!
Cheers!
Monday! Woo! We made it again, another week.
Oh my goodness. Hey, everybody out there, you survived the weekend, and I know you're missing a little tiny bit more, so welcome to the Monday Club.
The extra day of the weekend, your new Saturday.
Look, I am super happy to see both of you gentlemen out there. Before we introduce our special guest, let's go ahead and do our cheers of the week, man.
Yes, let's cheers to, what's your name? Okay, this is a video you found, Gus, and I laughed my ass off watching this. It is of a guy in a public restroom. You're not seeing him. You're seeing the door of the. It looks like he's in a handicap stall, so it's larger. There's plenty of room, and all of a sudden you see some little head pop underneath the door, and there's this child.
Door. Here's basically what happens. Like Pete said, there's a little kid that sticks his head underneath the stall door, and you're seeing it's like a first-person shooter video game because you're just seeing like the outskirts of like the outline of what the guy who is sitting on the toilet trying to do his business in the public bathroom. And this little kid sticks his head under the thing and then proceeds to crawl under the stall and stand in there with him, asking him little 4-year-old questions.
Starts up a conversation with the guy in the pot.
And the guy on the pot is sitting there like, hey, man, I think your mom's outside. Don't you want to go back? And he's like, what's your name?
Doesn't he start yelling?
Weird part to me is, why does this guy have his camera going if he's sitting on the pot? Like, who does that?
I know,
like,
because
this
that's
is
how you get pink eye.
the unasked question.
That is the question. He was probably
a quick way to pink eye is by doing exactly what this guy's doing. Though, I'll tell you what, for the only way this gets even more awkward, though, I'm glad he had his phone out, because if a parent were to like come into the restroom and like just open the stall door with the guy and this little kid in the thing, at least he has video evidence of what happened.
Maybe that's why he's like, I need to record
yeah, dude,
this.
I think that's smart.
Yeah, I need to record this. That's hilarious. Funny story. I actually have a kid in stall story.
Okay.
I was taking my kid to soccer on Saturday, and we were leaving, and I had to use the bathroom. So going to the bathroom with him, and I do my business, and then as I'm about to leave the stall with my kid, I hear some other kid in the stall over from me yelling for help. He's like, "Help! Can you get me out of this stall? Can you open the door? Can you open the door? Help me, please! Help me, please! Can you open the door?" And I'm like, "This is awkward. What do I do?" Like, is he just stuck? Does he need his bum wiped? What does he need? So I just kind of like pushed the door, and it was just a little bit stuck, and then he opened it up, and it was just enough for him to open it up, and he came out, washed his hands, and said thank yous. I was like, how do I handle this situation?
Did that song "I Need a Hero" start playing?
I did walk a little taller after that.
Yeah. Not all heroes wear capes.
How sad is it that we live in a society, though, where you just don't want to automatically just help the kid, that you got to worry about that covering your butt thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah,
always
yeah,
feel
yeah.
way safer helping other children when I have my kid with me, too. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's absolutely true. Yeah,
Me too, but my kids are in their 20s, so that's weird.
sometimes that's a little bit awkward.
One time, I was at a Best Buy, and Peter was my middle son was buying an iPod or an iPhone or something. We never bought those electronics. They had to use their own money for that, which, they of course got from us, but whatever. And, he had already finished his purchase, and I was back in the bathroom, and he calls me, and I'm like, oh, I'm in the bathroom. And he goes, all right, well, I'm going to come get the key so I can take my stuff out to the car. I'm like, cool. So he walks in the bathroom, and he sees a set of legs there, and he reaches up underneath the door stall, and he just snaps his fingers and goes like, does a little motion with his hands like, give me the keys. And I go, hey, what are you doing? And he whipped his hand back, and you just hear this as he runs out the door.
Oh, that's great. Playing pranks on your kid. I love it.
Oh, it's a good thing that I was where I was at that time because, I was laughing pretty hard.
That's great.
You win.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, let's raise our glasses and toast to this kid and guy in the pot creating awkward moments for our entertainment pleasure.
There you go. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. This week, I am drinking in honor of the holiday coming up. I don't actually celebrate Easter, but I think it's a fun time to eat a ham. It's a tradition every year I make what we call Peeps on the Beach. It might sound familiar to you. It might sound like sex on the beach, but it's not. It's Peeps on the Beach. It's the exact same drink, but you garnish it with a little peep on the side. I have not gotten my peeps yet, so this is technically just a sex on the beach. But if you put a peep on the side, it's a peep on the beach, and it becomes much more family-friendly if you need family-friendly cocktails. So that is what I'm drinking.
You should call it sex with your peeps on the beach.
Ooh, that's a good
Oh.
one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's the X-rated Easter party.
Yeah.
So
They're
yeah,
the best.
if you've never made a sex on the beach, it is a 1 part vodka, so 1 ounce vodka, 1 ounce peach schnapps, 2 ounces orange juice, 2 ounce cranberry juice. Mix it with some ice. This is a double because this is Monday Club.
All right, man. Way to be. CJ, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking, first of all, out of my beautiful Tin Tavern etched glass.
Nice.
That my friend Dan Leonidas sent me, and it's probably the coolest etching ever. But I'm drinking Patron Incendio Cafe.
Ooh.
It is a chili chocolate infused liqueur from Patron, and I'm drinking it over ice. So I guess the recipe is put ice in glass, pour Patron Incendio over it.
Nice.
But it's really good. So when you drink this, here's the little secret, and I taught this to Gus, but you put just enough in your mouth that it covers your tongue. Let it cover your entire tongue, and you're going to get that sweet, but then you're going to get this little bit of heat at the back edges of your tongue from the chili that's in it. And it's really good, and it pairs super nice with a cigar.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it is.
I'm
made
in my
with,
office. I don't have a cigar right
with
now.
chili peppers. Then
Yeah, it's got the
at first I thought you chilled it in the fridge.
like chili peppers. So it's got a little bit of heat to it, a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of tequila.
Interesting.
Delicious stuff.
It is really delicious. I can second that. Everyone should try that Patron and chili. It is super, super good, and it's really good just by itself. So I am jealous of you. I am drinking out of my official Monday Club mug right here, and I've got some Andalusia single malt whiskey over ice with some Diet Pepsi, because that's what I had in my refrigerator. And also this week, I am still trying to finish out our IPAs from Eric Diddleman. So I've got
It's not
one.
the same bottle, is it?
Oh, no, it's not the same bottle. It's a brand new one. But I should also say, and I don't think I said this on our last podcast, aside from the fact that I hate IPAs, that this IPA is 9% ABU. So it's a pretty hefty kick. So I'm going to slam that, and by the end of this podcast, hopefully you can all still understand my words. Anyway, gentlemen, raise your glasses high again. It is so good to see all of you in the tree fort of Monday Club.
Cheers, yes.
I think it's important, ladies and gentlemen, that we go ahead and introduce our guest. For those of you who don't know CJ Johnson, you should know CJ. You should Google him right now and look him up. Though, I'll tell you, CJ is, for our group of friends, and just for me personally, the single most connector of people that I have ever met in my life. Like, everyone that I know has come about in some way or fashion because of my connection with CJ. I think of him as the godfather of show, the man that has launched 1,000 careers. He was my best man at my wedding, so don't make fun of him. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. CJ Johnson.
Thanks for being here, CJ.
Oh,
Yeah.
my pleasure. Yeah, and Gus was best man at mine too, so we had a little quid pro quo there too.
Little nepotiz never went too far.
Little nepotiz.
So
to quote
I should
the
also
D.
say that CJ is a jack of all trades. We'll talk about this in a minute, but CJ has been everything from a unicycle rider, a juggler, a clown, a balloon artist, a magician, an illusionist, a game show host, a producer, and a hypnotist. And I think I missed some. I mean, CJ has done all kinds of different things at the highest level that you can possibly do them. I should also say he's a writer, an author, and now a podcast mogul after this episode.
Yeah, one podcast. Hey, I was on one episode of Scam School too, so 2 podcasts.
CJ, you've also done. You were on tour with Brooks and Dunn, and you were on Penn and Teller's Bullshit, and a couple of other nationally touring or nationally recognized pieces of video. So, yeah, man, you're all over the place. We're jealous of you.
My career in 2003 was kick ass.
CJ, we are going to get into it with you in a minute. Before we do, thank you guys so much for listening to Monday Club. We love you all. Make sure you sign up for our email newsletter on mondayclubpodcast.com. Everything is up there. You can find out all our social. Twitter, Instagram is up there. Make sure you tell a friend about the podcast. We like to grow. We like to grow the club, so make sure you tell a friend or two about our podcast. Share your favorite episodes on your social media. And we're on Spotify, YouTube. You can listen a bunch of different ways. And, you know, sometimes people feel inspired to buy us a drink. And how can we do that? Because of PayPal, the magic of PayPal. So if you guys want to buy us a drink, you just tell us what you want us to drink and send us some money for it through our email, mondayclubpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you just want to talk to us, you can also email us at that email as well, mondayclubpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you guys. Also, give us a little love and rating up on iTunes. That helps spread the word about what we're doing here.
So, CJ, man, one of the things that I am always amazed by, I know that you are, CJ and I should also say, are business partners for the production company that we do, and I would wish that him and I got the chance to spend more time together, but even though we work very closely together, we don't get to see each other that often. And then it always blows me away when you come up to me and was like, "Hey, man, I actually listened to that episode of Monday Club and really enjoyed it." So
Yeah, it's fun for me because I listen and it's like, oh, I just got to, I was hanging out with Gus and Pete yesterday, and it's like, oh no, I wasn't. I was just listening to the podcast, and so that's kind of fun for me. And Kim my wife Kim had the same experience. She was like, oh, I was just talking to Gus about that yesterday. No, I was listening to the podcast.
Gus was talking to me about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That kind of fulfills our goal, Gus, huh? We want to make it, like you said, a tree fort, all hanging out. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, all we have to do now is not screw it up anymore, Pete. That'll be great.
Yeah, no, mission accomplished. Because for me, it's exactly like what it is when we hang out. Except you don't have to rush into having a, here's our teachable moment.
Oh, that's a good one.
Though I'll tell you what, man, if I could have sound effects follow me around, and
oh yeah,
I think I would use it. So
were you there when we did
so
that
naughty.
for Chad Johnson for OMG Chad?
No.
It's like we just had it queued up on the soundboard, and every time he would walk into the suite, we would be, "OMG, it's Chad." We'd play his theme song because he had a theme song, which I thought was pretty great.
So we're way off track, and I don't even care because that reminded me of you and I went to a casino one time, which I know is shocking.
One time
we've been together, but we went into a casino, and so Pete, picture this: CJ and I walk into this casino. We both have to pee really bad. We go into the bathroom, and it's just him and I in this bathroom, in a giant casino bathroom, and we go up to the stalls, and we both unzip. And as we let fly, "We Are the Champions" starts playing on the radio.
Oh, that's
and we both start laughing. And, when you're at the urinal and you're laughing, it makes it that much more awkward and funny. And
it wasn't a mic drop, but
oh man, you guys have hilarious experiences in public restrooms and massage parlors. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
We're pretty good at the awkward.
Yeah. I have a question for you, CJ. Gus rambled off like a million jobs you currently have and have done. What was your very first job you ever had?
Like as a teenager?
As a human being.
Okay. All right. Well, the first job I ever had was actually a business. And I was in, I guess it was 4th grade, and I made these Goonie Bird marionette puppets out of styrofoam and mason lid jars and pom-poms and fishing wire and paint stir sticks. And I sold them for $6 a piece, and this was 1976. And I sold about 400 of them.
What? Dude, in 4th grade?
So I was 12 years old. My mom helped me. My mom was a salesman, and she talked to her friends all over the place, and we shipped them off all over the place, and just made a ton of them.
So
that was my first business.
This whole entrepreneurship kind of runs really deep.
Yeah. My second job was selling macrame at the flea market in Houston, Texas. I paid part of my tuition to military school by selling macrame during the summers.
What the hell's macrame?
Macrame is like, the where you tie knots in different patterns and you hang plants in them, like if you were alive in the 70s, you'd know. Oh. It was a big deal then.
Oh, okay.
But I made hanging tables and lamps and baby swings and wall hangings and towel racks and pot holders and all that sort of stuff, and made anywhere from 78 to 81, I guess. I made anywhere from $1,200 to $4,500 a summer in 3 months selling macrame.
See, this is what I freaking love about you, CJ, is that I don't think that there's a single thing that I've ever come to you with that you haven't been like, oh yeah, man, like I used to do that. Like so Pete, CJ and I met when I was about 12 or 13 years old, maybe 11 years old, that I remember. And he came to this summer camp that taught juggling, okay? And so I happened to be one of their star juggling students. Like I had learned how to juggle clubs. And CJ was a clown at the time. Is that right?
Yeah, I was transitioning out of the clown stage, but I was still there and did clowning not because I had any kind of an affinity for clowning, but because I realized I got more gigs if I painted my face and dressed up.
Sure.
And went out.
And
I sucked. I was terrible. Don't get me. I mean, I was a terrible, terrible clown. Those people got so screwed by hiring me.
Would you do it again if someone threw down a couple grand for you? We want CJ.
A couple grand? I don't know if I would for a couple grand.
I'd definitely go back to birthday parties for that money.
Well, I'd do a birthday party, but I don't know that I'd do a clown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'd do a birthday party for a couple
We
grand.
need to be really clear with our words, not do a clown that you would perform as a clown.
Well, I'd do a clown for a couple grand. But
Somebody
I
out there,
wouldn't
Monday
dress
Club
up personally
land
as
can
one.
arrange that.
Yeah, I can just see a GoFundMe starting right now for trying to get CJ the magical clown back. But how? I know that you've always been an entrepreneur, but like this is a real question from me. Is like and something I think all of our Monday Club audience needs to know. CJ, if you don't mind me sharing a tiny bit of your personal story, there was a time where you were basically homeless, and you went from that space with your entrepreneurship to where you are now as a business mogul. Like, how did your progression go from like clown to producer and hypnotist and international badass?
So when the homeless time, I always had a place I could go and stay with my mom if I needed to. But when I split up with my ex-wife, I got a warehouse office space, and you weren't supposed to stay there, but I did. And most of the time I spent the night there, but I could go to my mom's house if I needed to. And I got a gym membership because I was on that I'm recently single diet. So I was getting in shape and making myself attractive for the next woman. And, so I would get up every morning and I would go to the gym and I'd work out and I'd shower there, and then I'd come back to the shop and do stuff. And, it was just a matter of, well, I gotta do what I gotta do. And it was right around that time that I started with the promoter that I still work with, 24 years later. So this was 1994, and started with them doing magic shows, and they gave me a baseline of 60 to 80 shows a year for the last 24 years. And, you just gotta, as long as you keep delivering good product for them, they keep selling tickets to shows. And, and so that's been real nice for me for the last 24 years to have that baseline of shows. So I know that's taken care of with no marketing expenses. And then I get to, say, okay, well, let's try this and let's try that and let's see what goes on. Cause I get bored easily. So I collect skills. I like,
You're like the schizophrenic entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it. How did you decide that you're going to do a hypnosis show?
I had always been really intrigued by hypnosis, and I worked a gig with my ex-wife at University of Texas here in Austin, and we went in and we did a big magic show, and it was terrible. Looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I should have been so embarrassed. It was really not good. But then they had a hypnotist come on after us, and it's like we had loaded in and spent all this time setting everything up, and this guy rolled in with a microphone and a cassette tape at the time, because it was 1992 probably.
I was there for that.
And
I know.
Yeah.
Cassette tape.
And he was, he went in and just knocked it out of the park and got 10 times the number of people at the event that we got as a magic act. And it was hilarious. I was like, man, that's really cool. And I would go and see hypnotists every time they would come to the Laugh Stop here in Austin, which is now whatever, Capital City Comedy Club. Mm-hmm. I'd go see them every time, and I was always just really intrigued. But it's one of those things where, they say when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And that's exactly what happened. I had moved out of, from my ex-wife, was living basically at my office warehouse space, and went out and checked my mail. There was a flyer, some guy saying I can train you how to do stage hypnosis. And I was at that time where I was like, yeah, I think I could do that now. And I literally never set the flyer down. I walked back to my office. It's probably, 300 yards back to my office from the mailbox. Mm-hmm. Never set the thing down. Called the guy, said, hey, if I come to your training, am I going to know how to hypnotize people? And he said, yes. I said, are you sure? He said, yes. I said, here's my credit card number. And literally never set the thing down. And when I went to the training, I already had my first 3 shows booked. So I was pretty motivated. Pretty motivated to learn. Because my show was like training ended on Tuesday and I had a show on Friday. That's true.
That's hilarious. That's a good way to motivate yourself to learn something. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've always been a fan of book it first and then fulfill.
Yeah, I did that with my Summoning Spirit show. I booked it before it was done. So yeah, but it's a good motivator. How did that first one go? Did you get anybody hypnotized, or
everybody there was great. It
really?
it went really well. It was at a retirement community at the island in Lago Vista, Texas, which is where my mom lived, and the person who ran it, she was a friend of ours forever. And, she had said, well, we have a really low budget. And I was like, that's okay. I just want to get out and do it.
Flight time, yeah.
And so I just wanted the flight time. So I went and I did the show, and it went remarkably well for the first show. And then I had another one the next Tuesday or Wednesday and another one the next Saturday. So within 10 days of my training, I had done three shows, and they all went really well.
That's so CJ.
I hear hypnotists have way more anxiety than even magicians, because you're like going out on stage. Is this going to work? Is anyone going to fall into hypnosis? Is this going to happen? Do you get really anxious before hypnosis shows about that, or did you used to?
As long as there are 50 people there, I have no anxiety at all. I did. I mean, I used to get worried about it, but if there's 50 people there, I know it's going to be a good show. And if there's 200 people there, I know it's going to be a great show. So it's much easier for me to do a show for 1,000 people than it is for me to do a show for 50. Right. I turn those shows away. I'm like, no.
Right. So, CJ, I don't know if I've ever told you this, man, but Pete, when we get really busy during the summer orientation and the grad night parties, and so we're all out in the company. We're all out doing our own thing. And a couple of years ago, we got so busy that CJ had to farm out his hypnosis show. Right? So he gets a performer friend of ours named Mike Meadows to go out and learn his hypnosis show word for word and be his stand-in to go and do a show. And I was with Mike at his very first hypnosis show, which was hilarious to me to see someone else be you, CJ,
Yeah, because I taught Mike, I was like, look, just say exactly what I say and do exactly what I do.
Yeah, it's the same joke.
and he did.
And he did. Yeah, he did word for word. He did the exact same show. But it was hilarious because you were talking about, do you get nervous or whatever? I watched Mike prep for the show, and then we did a game show to introduce him, and then he came on for the late night show. And so I introduced him, and he got out there, and he starts doing CJ's show word for word, and it worked fine. Everything was great. It was a great show. And when he got off stage, we were talking about it, and he was like, man, up until the time I told somebody to do something, I was like, this is some bullshit. Nobody's going to do anything that I'm going to tell them. And then they did, and he was like, holy crap, this is working.
I used to say it was like doing a collector's workshop piece for magicians who are listening, and this is, first of all, let me say, collector's workshop stuff works really well unless you do it wrong. But I used to say doing a hypnosis show was like doing a collector's workshop piece. When it worked, I was just as surprised as everybody else was.
Yeah.
But, I knew Meadows would do great because, I mean, we've talked about it, and, Kim and I talked about it. And Mike's the most talented person that I know, and I know a lot of talented people. But, like, that guy is super smart, and he's incredibly talented. They're like, oh, we need somebody to fill in for Willie Nelson's drummer. We have 2 days notice. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, Mike, who, if you're ever listening, Meadows, I got to say, man, and I say this live on air. You're annoyingly talented, and I don't mean that as a hater. I just mean every time I talk to you, he says, like, and he's being so genuine and humble about it, and he's like, oh man, yeah, it's so cool. I got like awarded the nicest guy in Prague award, and so here's me with the King of Prague, hanging out, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. I changed my car's headlight yesterday, so that was cool. It went out again, but
yeah, I had a day off in New York City with Sean Calden, and I got to go backstage to hang out with Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, and it's not
just
not
telling
bragging.
a story. I mean, there's no bragging. There's no.
Oh, I would brag about that for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah, and that's
yeah,
the
me
thing.
too. Me too.
That points out why we're all bad people. Because if any of that happened, you would hear
brag
about
once
it on
in a while,
Facebook,
Mike.
Snapchat, social media, everywhere.
There'd be pictures documenting, video, everything.
So years ago, Pete, Gus and Mike and I were traveling to. This is like early in our college market days, and we've got a conference in South Carolina or Atlanta or I think maybe Birmingham. And then a week later, we had a conference in Little Rock. And so it wasn't quite worth it for us to come all the way home. And so I booked a show and a lecture, at a school in Arkansas so that they would put us up for a couple nights so we could just go there. We'd do a show. They'd put us up for a couple nights and then we could go to the next conference, save some money, make a little money. And Meadows and Gus were with us, and we walked out of our hotel room, and there was a guy. We walked out of our hotel room to go see a movie, to go see The Departed, which we saw twice on that trip. And this guy looks at us as we walk out of our hotel room, and he's like, "You guys are a band." And we're like, No, we're not a band. He goes, "I don't know why you're lying to me, man. You guys are a band." He goes, "What band are you? What kind of music do you play?" And we're like, no, not a band. So we come back after going to see The Departed. We come back and we're really deeply wrapped up in this movie because, I mean, we all just loved it so much. And we're having deep discussion. We come out and this guy is still sitting outside of our hotel and he's got his guitar with us. And he goes, "I know you guys are a band. Will you sign my guitar?" And we're like, "We're not a band, and sorry, man, we're not a band, we just mess up your guitar." And we walked inside and then we're all like, "Damn it, we should have just signed his guitar. We should have just signed it and made him feel something." Mike's in a band, but I have no musical talent.
So one more Meadows story, and then I have another question for you, Sejal. But so we were at around that same time. We were at one of our conferences, and Meadows had performed for a showcase, and I had performed for a showcase. So he was in his rock star outfit with torn jeans and all of the nice shirts that he wears and all that, and I was in a pimp suit for my game show. Okay, and we finished, and we got out of there at about 1:30 in the morning. And we were walking back to the hotel, and we were both starving. And so we were like, "Oh, man, there's a Jack in the Box right over there. Do you want to just go get some Jack in the Box?" Cool. So we walk up, and the doors are locked, so you have to go through the drive-thru. And we were really hungry. We were like, "Well, screw it. We'll just walk through the drive-thru." So we walk through the drive-thru, and we just knock on the window of the drive-thru. And the drive-thru person looks out, and what he sees is a dude dressed in a bright red pimp suit and a dude who looks like he's a rock star just standing there knocking at the window. So the guy opens the window. He's like, "Can I help you?" We're like, "Hey, man, can we get some food? We don't have a car." And he's like, "I guess." So he goes and he makes our order, and he brings our order up, and Mike is like, "Oh, man, I forgot my wallet." And I was like, "That's cool." And I reach in my pocket, but I had game show money with me. So all I had was $100 bills. I had like 12 $100 bills in my pocket. And so I pull out this wad of hundreds, and I was like, "Hey, man, can you make change?" And the guy was just like, "I don't know what the hell you guys have been doing. I don't know what's going on. This is some shady shit." All right, so moving on. I want to say that, like in the introduction, I talked about that CJ is a connector. Every single person that I know has known CJ in some capacity or another, and for lots of different reasons. But in Malcolm Gladwell's book Blink, they talk about connectors and mavens and people
influencers.
like that. And influencers, yeah. And CJ, you are definitely a connector. Like I said, everyone I know has heard of you in one capacity or another, including someone who is now an international superstar, Brian Brushwood, who used to be a nerdy tech boy for you. Is that true?
It is true. Yeah, that was Brian's job when he was in college. He would travel on the road with me on the weekends and do these phone room promoter shows that I did. He would run tech, and back then we had like 13 or 14 cassette tapes, and he'd cue them up and put the cassette tape in and press play at the appropriate time. We had a little sound effects machine that you had from Radio Shack that had a drum roll and some other stuff on it, and he'd push 1-4 enter to get a rim shot, and which, by the way, is the accurate number for
everybody with that Radio Shack model out there, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
Totally. And then Bonnie was my assistant. We met Bonnie at a magic convention. We had a mutual friend who knew her from a camp up in Pennsylvania, and she came down to see him. And Brian and Bonnie and I met her the same night. And then the girl who was my assistant after my wife, because when she divorced me, I fired her. And the girl who was my assistant after my ex, she flaked out on a gig, and we're like, well, we need somebody smart who, will be cool under fire. And our mutual friend recommended Bonnie. And so she came out and did a magic show with me. And that ended up being her, weekend job when she was in college. And then they started dating while they were on the road with me. But I didn't know, until
they invited you to the wedding.
Until much, much later. It wasn't quite that late, but it was much, much later. And then they just celebrated their 20th wedding anniversary.
I know, I saw
last
that.
week.
That's
and I
crazy.
was like, oh my God, that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brian worked with me, and Gordon Prince worked with me, and he's now a vice president at Warner Brothers. And you worked with me, and
So
Cody Fisher worked backstage with me.
After CJ and I met through me learning how to juggle when I was like 11 or 12 or 13, when I got to college, CJ was like, hey man, I know you and you're cool, and Brian is starting his upward trajectory on his magic career and all the other things that he's doing. Do you want to come and work backstage with me? And so in college, that was my meal ticket through college, was working replacing Brian as the tech boy for CJ's Traveling Illusion show. So yeah, man, it's been so interesting watching everybody over the years who is connected to you go off and do their own thing. Like I said, Brian,
and
CJ,
yet I stay at the same place.
Cody Fisher, you mentioned earlier, is an international superstar with Magic too, and
Marcus Eddy, pretty good
Peter. All of these people have worked
Peter
with
the
you
Adequate.
and gone off in different directions. So anyway, I want to give
I'm
a
super
cheers
proud.
to CJ.
There was a moment at your wedding that I was standing in the kitchen of the venue that you guys used, and I looked around, and it was like everybody in that kitchen at one point in time had worked for me at doing something.
Right.
It may have been only 1 or 2 gigs. It may have been for 5 years, but everybody in that kitchen, I was like, wow, I have employed every one of these people at some point in time. And that's it was pretty great. And I'm just so proud of what everybody's gone on to do. And yeah, it's really cool.
You mustn't have been too bad of a boss if they still are friends with you. Well,
they were friends with me. They were at my wedding.
Yeah, they were. It was at Gus's wedding.
CJ's presence.
They didn't come to my wedding.
Well, I want to raise a glass and raise a toast to CJ Johnson. CJ, you're awesome, man. Thanks for being on, and thanks for being such a great guy, bro.
Thank you.
So, do you guys want to play this claim game?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So
Yeah.
every year I get an update from my performer's liability insurance company telling me that my rates have gone up again and that there are some things that have happened throughout the year, and they tell us what they paid out. So I'm going to read you a few things that they sent me, describe them to you, and you guys have to guess the the top cost that they've paid out for this, because sometimes they give a range. So here we go.
All right.
Are you ready? Do you understand the game?
We're ready.
So
Yeah.
so you're going to tell us what type of performer it was, what the injury was, and we have to guess what they paid.
Maybe not what type of performer, but at least what happened. Yes, and
Okay.
then what
All right.
they had to pay out in the claim.
All right.
Some of these have been really funny in the past, so we'll see if there are any funny ones this time. Here we go. Sometimes the venue where you are working will ask you to give away something. Sometimes you kind-heartedly announce that the first person to reach the stage will be given a prize. This can result in a mad rush of people wanting a prize. People can get quite aggressive when something free is up for grabs and someone can be injured. We have paid out up to how much in personal injury, broken bones, for this type of situation?
$14,000. Oh wait, are we playing by Price is Right rules?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No. Closest to.
Closest to.
Over-
I'm going to go with 14.5.
I'm going to go with 238,000.
And CJ's the winner.
Oh!
They have paid up to $35,000 for broken bones.
Wow.
So if you get a broken bone
That is way too much.
at a show, you could be entitled to $35,000.
Hey, James, edit that. Edit that. As the guy who plays insurance and your paycheck.
The law offices of Joe Bornstein. There's another one. Beware of injury or damage that can occur from the sire wheel / German wheel. Do you guys know what kind of wheel this is?
I
No.
don't.
I don't know either. I think it's one of those wheels that circus performers are in, and they roll around on stage going upside down.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're like an
yeah.
X in the middle of it.
Yeah.
This giant wheel
yeah.
can get easily out of a person's control, even by the most experienced. So this happened with someone really experienced, I'm assuming. When performing on the wheel in strong wind, the wind can take it out of your control and slam into parked cars or pedestrians. When performing on the wheel indoors, you can also lose control and hit a spectator. Try to avoid getting close to these spectators. We have paid to over. What is the over amount for these types of claims?
Well,
It sounds
Gus, I'll let you go first on this one, man.
All right. I'm going to say 57,000.
So I'm going to say that because they mentioned indoor and outdoor and cars and pedestrians. So are they looking for a cumulative number, you think, or individual claim of?
I think they're going individual claim.
Yeah, I think there are individual claims. It sounds like there's been multiple problems, but they're going
Right,
with
multiple
they're going for the
lacerations.
highest one here.
So I'm going to say that the vehicle and pedestrian damage is going to be the highest, and I'm going to go with. What'd you go with, Gus?
57,000?
I'm going to go with 32.7.
Gus is the winner.
Whoa!
You guys are way off though. It's okay. It says from $36,000 to over $130,000.
Oh my God. You know, it just makes me sick that people are like, "Ooh, I got hurt. Now I'm gonna have a chance to be rich."
Right. Although, I
I'm
got
going
to
to
say,
disappoint you as a friend one day, CJ.
Whatever happened to happens, man.
well, it sounds like that would be such a great card for the Monopoly, like the chance card. Like, chance card, you got run over by a German mono wheel, collect $136,000.
$36,000.
We're updating Monopoly. You know, you can't copyright the way a game is played. You can only copyright the.
All right.
So
Next
it's
one.
time for an update for Insurance Monopoly.
Right.
At some events, the audience is just having fun by tossing things around within the crowd. We have never heard of a beach ball causing any problems, but we have had someone struck by a flying drumstick. Flying drumsticks can result in bodily injury such as head trauma and can pay out how much? Who would have thought?
You know, that dude was standing there going, "Throw me your drumstick!" And then he gets hit, and he's like, "Now throw me your insurance card." I'm going to say that one's going to be on the light side. I'm going to say 12,000.
12,000 for a flying drumstick. Gus, what do you think?
I'm gonna get 80,000.
It's like I wish I knew what damage it did. I wonder,
I'm gonna say
if it put an eye
80,000
out, it's
because
going to
I'm
be
gonna
more.
claim that it hit somebody in the eye and they got a concussion and lost their vision in their eye. I'm gonna say 80,000.
Oh, wait. If it's an eye injury, it's going to be more because just like eyes are
I'm sorry,
expensive.
you're already locked in, bro. You know how game
right.
shows work.
All right.
That's fine. I like
And
it.
if my math is right, Gus, you are the winner.
Woohoo!
You can get paid $58,000 for getting hit in the head with a drumstick.
Wow. Thank you for making me lose faith in humanity.
All right, 2 to
I'm
1.
sure glad I'm drinking now.
It is 2 to 1. Gus is ahead 2 to 1. CJ, you have to win this one to get to the tiebreaker question. Here we go. You wouldn't think much of an extension cord being used in the area where you're performing as a hazard, but think again. This type of claim happens more often than you would think. Our most common claims involve tripping and falling. If you noticed exposed cables, wires, or cords, contact a venue representative to have something put on top of them, securing them to avoid injury. This type of claim has paid out from anywhere to more than...
I think it's on me to go first. I'm going to say that I trip and fall on our own cords all the damn time backstage.
Never done it. Knock on wood.
So, I'm going to say this is lighter 72,000.
72,000 for a trip and
72,000.
fall over a cord to Gus.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say 65,000. I'm gonna do some game strategy.
All right.
The winner's Gus!
Jesus.
You can
'Cause a
get paid.
clumsy
Suck
bastard.
it, CJ!
You can get any
Like,
paid.
I'm sure that fall had nothing to do with the fact they were just walking and texting on their damn phone instead of watching what they were doing.
I think CJ.
I'm going to get all crotchety
really
old man now.
disgruntled with his insurance premiums. That's why.
Well, my insurance, I filled out the application today.
You can get paid for tripping over a loose wire anywhere from $35,000 to over $1 million.
Jesus, the Jew. That's crazy.
CJ's so pissed off right now. Look
Yeah,
at his
he
face.
is. Yeah. I think
I
what's
am.
funny is
I'm
not
angry.
only is he pissed off about losing, he's pissed off on principle as well.
But it just makes me mad that everybody tries to blame somebody. But I blame the insurance companies for that some too, because like last summer I went, as you guys both know, I mean, I know Gus knows for sure, because I had quite a cranky period in the last year. But I went up to Colorado. I worked 2 days or 2 weeks of trade shows where I was on my feet, and it messed up one of my ankles, and went up to Colorado and ended up having to go to the emergency room twice, and came back. And when I get in the insurance papers, like they called me and they sent me questionnaires asking me, is this an injury that you can blame on somebody else who might have insurance? And stuff like that. Because the insurance companies are looking to pass the buck on to somebody else who might be able to cover it as well. So your health insurance company is crazy active if you have any kind of an injury, trying to figure out who they can blame it on so that they can sue them, so that they don't have to take it. So
Right, and I think
now I'm just pissed. Why'd you get me on your show to be pissed?
I mean, I think people have a responsibility in that too. Instead of just being like, "Hey, I screwed up and fell down and I look like an asshole," they think that they're like, "Hey, somebody out there is willing to give me free money. Sure, I'll take that." But they don't realize that it's also costing everyone extra money because of that. And
Yeah, but sometimes
Right, yeah.
I think they're legit claims. You have negligence and someone gets hurt, and it could have been
Sure.
avoided, and that
Yeah, sure.
there's
agree
a
with
penalty
that.
for that.
There are.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I just think that there's also there will always be people who scam the system. So
Oh yeah, totally,
yeah.
totally.
Hey, so on a kind of a different note, CJ, I think it's fun for our studio audience to also hear some road games that you and I know Pete have all played in the past, and I have a couple of stories that I want to throw out with this one too. But can you describe to people what the scare game is?
Oh my God. So the scare game, first of all, play this game at your own risk. Okay. Don't come and claim some shit on your insurance because of me. But the scare game is the idea of just trying to scare the crap out of your friends, whatever it takes. And my favorite technique in the scare game is when we're driving down the road and somebody is telling a story and they really get into a moment where you can tell they're accessing state, where they're reliving that scary moment. And then as I'm just driving along, I'll just kind of go, ah! And I'll scream at them and make them jump at their own story. That's my absolute favorite. And I used to get Bonnie Brushwood with that all the time.
Do not come to my show, Summoning Spirits, please.
Yeah. No, I've been.
It would be hilarious for me.
That'd be so great to have CJ just run up to the audience and be,
But we'll hide in hotel rooms and wait for an hour for somebody to come in so we can jump out and scare them.
I've done that with you.
I think my favorite ever, it was I think Father's Day, and my mom had just taken my kids to a dude ranch in Colorado, and I was picking them back up, and where I was meeting my mom to pick the kids up was maybe 6 blocks away from Brushwood's house. And I called Bonnie and I said, "Hey Bonnie, it's CJ. Don't say my name." She's like, "Okay." And I said, "Are you guys home?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "All right, in 5 minutes, I want you to send Brian outside. Make sure none of the girls are with him and he's not carrying anything valuable. I'm going to scare the shit out of him." She's like, "Okay, Mom. All right, well, I'll talk to you later." So I go and I hide in the bushes outside of Brian's house. And here he comes a couple minutes later, just having a nice Father's Day at home, taking the garbage out, because for some reason Bonnie needs these cans to go out to recycling right now. So he just comes tootling out all nice and relaxed, and I jump out of the bushes at him. That bag of cans goes flying up into the air, and he goes staggering backwards till he hits a tree. And he's holding his chest, and he's falling down with his back up against the tree. He's falling down to the ground, and he's like, "Oh my God, oh my God. Oh, that's just CJ. That's just CJ." And before his butt has hit the ground, he's rating it, like on a scale of 1 to 10. He's like, "Okay, it's just CJ. That was a really good scare. I think that's like about an 8 or a 9. Maybe even a 10. Because it was completely unexpected. I mean, I wasn't even around. There's no way he's going to expect a guy to come jumping out of the bushes.
Pete, so to tell you how much CJ loves the scare game and how much we all know this, we were, Brian, our then manager at the time, Mike, and a couple of other people were with us. We're in a car, and we dropped CJ off at a conference so that he could go and check us in, okay? And so we drop him off, and we have to go park the truck in a parking garage, okay? So we drop him off, and CJ just walks out of the car, and we slowly go off to the parking garage. And as soon as we get out of eyesight, we're like, CJ's going to try to scare us. Like, we know CJ. That's what he's going to do. And
so from my point of view, they're going up, and I'm just tootling, and as soon as they're out of view, I turn around, and I start hauling ass to the stairs. But I trip and I fall in front of all of these college kids who I'm asking to book me. And I wipe out hard. This is in Tulsa. Yeah. And the kids are all like, "Oh my God, are you all right? Are you all right?" And I'm like, yeah, I gotta scare them. And I keep running, and I limp up the stairs to put myself in position.
He fell into some rose bushes, so he's all scratched up. His shirt's torn.
I'm
pants
literally
are torn.
bleeding.
He's bleeding all over the place. And his ankle's twisted, and he's trying to limp up the stairs to the parking garage. Meanwhile, in our perspective, we all parked. We parked the car. We all get out. He's like, and we're all like, hey guys, just so we all know, CJ's probably waiting around the corner to try to scare us. And we're all like, yeah, okay, well, we're just going to walk past single file so we all know it's happening. Okay, so we start walking and we go by, and CJ, again, from his perspective, has just left bloody marks all over the stairs. As he's
It's like I'm a zombie that I have to get my brains, you know?
Oh my god!
So we all
That's
passed that.
hilarious.
We're going down the sky bridge to get into the hotel, and as we're walking by, CJ jumps out. He's like, "Whoa!" And we're like, "Hey, CJ!" And he's like, "God damn it!"
I think I ruined a shirt, like a $300 shirt, you know?
So much effort. Oh, you guys should have pretended
Brian stayed in a closet of a hotel one time in St. Louis, and he was waiting there to hide, to scare us. And it wasn't even his room. It was our room.
It was our room, yeah.
But he had a key to our room, and he hid in the closet. And while he was waiting, he had a couple of beers and was doing stuff on his computer. And then we walked in, and he just looked up at us and was like, boo. He got so distracted.
He'd been sitting in the closet for at least 4 beers. Oh man! Well, I cannot recommend to you out there, Monday Warriors, who are also travelers, to incorporate the scare game. Again, do it at your own risk. We assume no legal responsibility for you, but it does make things super interesting, and it means when somebody leaves the bathroom before the other person that they're going to be hiding around the corner trying to jump out and scare you.
Yeah, but there are rules. It's like if you scare somebody, you have to be willing to be scared. So we do have friends who have opted out of the scare game.
Sure.
And they're like, yeah, we don't want to participate in that.
Is there a web form for that? Or
I think it's just a verbal agreement. We're all gentlemen.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Pete, so switching gears a little bit, you also did another podcast recently, is that right?
Yeah, I was on the Well-Attended podcast. Show notes will have the link to the episode. I was talking business with William Rader, owner of wellattended.com. They're a ticket-selling solution. I actually use them for my summer show, Conjuring at the Colony. I sell my tickets through their website. Great service if you guys if you're looking to sell tickets to one of your shows and need someone to do that. Wellattended.com is wonderful. Can't recommend them enough. And yeah, we talked business and specifically CRM software. So if I said CRM software and your eyes glazed over, you're not in business for yourself. If you salivated a little bit, you're probably an entrepreneur or some sort of self-employed person.
I have a drool bucket.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like crack technology for.
Who do you use?
I am an Infusionsoft guy. Very expensive, but they have a lot of stuff, including automation.
Cool.
Yeah. Who do you use?
I use the Mago CRM.
Oh, okay. Mago, M-O-G-O?
M-A-G-O, and I don't think it's called C. I think it's Mago.co.
Mago.co.
Or Mago.tech for stuff, but it's specifically designed for entertainers.
Oh, cool.
And the guy who does it is super all about making it expand and work for the needs of entertainers specifically.
Oh, nice. So, that's cool.
Yeah.
I have never experienced that one. But, if you guys want to listen to what I look for in a CRM, we talk about what a CRM does, all the nuts and bolts, and then get into some of the luxury items that CRMs can do. Check it out. I think you will be interested and learn something possibly.
So that was well attended? Is that?
Yeah, wellattended.com.
And shout out to wellattended.com and their podcast. And Pete, thanks for doing that, man. A little cross promotion, never hurt nobody. And yeah, that's CRMs are amazing. They make you look like you are one person. Looks like they have a giant office working for them when you do them right.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah, it is. It's the only way I can stay up to date on my on business.
Right. This week in the news. I love that. I love that. So this week in the news, Monday Club, we always want to bring you news that is not necessarily bad news. We want to try to make Mondays fun for you. So this week in the news, what we found is a social media heartwarming story. So on the surface, when you click on this, what it says is, kid is sad when classmates don't attend his birthday party. Which, everybody's had a birthday party. We want to, everybody's been sad because people didn't show up to their party and they were a little disappointed. Well, this guy made a really awesome themed party for Stranger Things. CJ, are you a Stranger Things fan?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, that's great.
Have you watched them yet, Gus?
Yeah, dude,
Okay,
I'm all caught up. I'm
Good.
through season 2, and it's great. So,
Look, that was
so
my
this guy
childhood.
has-
So
Yeah, it's great. So he has the Christmas lights hung up that say Happy Birthday. He's got everything Stranger Things themed, and none of his friends came. And so in this social media story that unfolded, his sister posts that, hey, all of my brother's friends are jerks because they stood him up at this awesome Stranger Things party. And through the power of social media, it just kind of spiraled. Everyone retweeted and was like, oh man, happy birthday, Stranger Things, hashtag Stranger Things. And it ended up that the chick who plays 11 in Stranger Things sent him a message and was like, on social media, so everybody could see, it was like, hey man, I'm sorry your friends are jerks, but your party looks awesome, and if you invite me next year, I'll show up. and then the dude who plays what's
The curly-haired
kid's
guy.
name? The curly-haired guy, yeah.
With the he had no teeth.
I love
in
that
one.
kid.
Yeah. Anyway, Dustin's his name. The actor who plays Dustin on Stranger Things joined in and was like, yeah, ditto, me too. Invite me and I'll be there next year. And so it's just a very heartwarming story for those people who are so influential in this kid's life to join on his side. But it's also a testament to how powerful social media is. And I know all of us have to use social media all the time for being performers. But I wanted to transition that this week in the news to a cool thing that happened to me recently. So this last week I was on the road and I was randomly bitching and moaning about how much I hate my pillows at home. I've been trying to get sleep, and I just can't sleep on my home pillows. My hotel pillows are so much better than my home pillows. And so I made a quick post about, hey, does anybody out there know any pillows that they recommend that they can share with me so I can go out and buy new pillows? And it was so amazing how many people came, joined in on the conversation and told about the pillows that they like. And then this guy named Peter the Adequate, who, CJ, used to work for you as well, so another weird connection there through CJ. Peter got on there, a super nice guy, and was like, hey, recently I found this one pillow. I super love it. I love it so much that I want to buy you one so that you can have a good night's sleep. And so 2 days after I got back home, after I had posted that, he shows up on my doorstep bringing this brand new pillow to me. Just through me typing a couple of words, I got a brand new pillow, which was awesome. It was super awesome.
So what is the name of what's the pillows? So we need.
It is.
Well, we don't want to order it yet until you've slept on it.
Yeah.
We'll
I'll
wait
tell
till
you
next
time.
week.
All
Yeah,
right,
I'll tell you next
time.
week because it'll be. I'll actually have a review of the pillow. But CJ, do you have any social media stories like that you were just like, oh my god, so the power of social media is amazing?
So social media is really, really kick-ass. I have a couple of people in my life that I consider like super good friends. Like, if they needed something, bam, I'm there. And they're people that I've met in real life maybe 2 or 3 times. I've gone out of my way to make sure that we meet, but they're people that I mostly know through social media, but that I consider really good friends.
Yeah.
Like the glass I'm holding right now, with the Tin Tavern logo on it. That was sent to me by a friend of mine that we knew on social media, and he was, he was at one of the college booking conferences. He's a hypnotist who I've never seen his show, but I know that he must be hilarious because he's the funniest person on Facebook. But, he's like, oh, I'm a hypnotist and I'd love to meet you. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Please, no, please. But I couldn't think of a way out of it. And then we met and we hit it off in person right away. And I love the dude. I'd do whatever for him. And we've hung out several times since then. And, I consider him a really good friend, but we wouldn't have become friends had it not been for social media. And that guy's Dan Lernitis is that guy. And if you're on social media, he's the funniest man on Facebook. And Chase Goforth is the same way, who's a filmmaker out of Arkansas. And we met I was interviewed for a podcast a few years ago, and it was him and Rudy Kobe and I can't remember who all was there. There was four people. I think it was Dodd Vickers, Rudy Kobe, Cameron Ramsey. I think those are the four people. But Chase and I really hit it off, and Chase is just a great guy and a great filmmaker, and I've helped like on his GoFundMe's and things like that, or Kickstarters for some of his films, and social media is just great that way. I mean, those guys are good friends of mine. But it wouldn't have happened without social media. And I get to keep up with you guys. I get to keep up with you and Dan and not so much Nate because he doesn't ever post anything on social media. But I get to keep up with all of my friends. And I find out, like we found out that we were all in Baltimore one time. And we met up, the three of us all met up had lunch at a place in Baltimore because we were all in the same area at the same time. We wouldn't have known that without social media.
I think that's the best use of social media is when I post, hey, I'm going to be in, Lincoln, Arkansas, or wherever. I don't know if that's a real town in Arkansas tomorrow. And then all of a sudden someone's like, hey, I'm flying into the same airport. And then you get to meet up. But yeah, that's the greatest thing. Whenever I post and someone says, I'm going to be flying into that same airport, I'm in that same town, let's go out for a drink after or something. That's the greatest use. And getting people to your 8-year-old birthday party.
Yeah. I've had several times where I was at the same airport with somebody, and so we were able just to meet up for a hug and a high five and maybe a sandwich or something, and then go off on our own flights to wherever. And that's always cool, when you're going through somewhere and you didn't expect to see, Dan Martin, and all of a sudden, hey, we're at the same airport. What?
Right.
So that's why you get those tweets. I'm in this town flying to, or those Facebook posts is on the outside chance, because people who don't travel a lot, they're like, why do people feel like they have to post everywhere that they're traveling? It's like, no, we're kind of putting the bait out there in the water to see who's in the same area so we can see our friends that we don't see that often.
Right. I've run into Rebecca Loby more times than any other person at airports. Like at least 4 or 5 times a year, we just randomly run into each other at airports, and it's through social media, and we just, that's the time we get to see each other the most, is hanging out at baggage claim at some random airport. If you don't know who Rebecca Loby is, Monday Club, you should definitely check her out. You can also support her on her Patreon, but she was on The Voice and a super, super talented solo and recording artist. So check that out.
And her last EP is titled Filthy Jokes, which is a song that she wrote for me and Kim's wedding.
Oh, that's sweet.
Support her there, and you can hear the song that she wrote for our wedding.
I'm so excited for all the hashtags we get to put on this episode of Monday Club.
Hashtag.
We've talked about a lot of people. We should teach some people some things.
Let's do it. Moments. God, that's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
That was recorded. I was watching y'all's lips, and they didn't move at all.
We can only
Oh, man, I thought you guys did that each time.
We can only obtain perfection
not that
once.
Good.
God, the illusion's gone for me.
My Teachable Moment Monday Club this week is actually an app recommendation that'll keep you organized. It's for the Mac. Sorry, Windows users. It's called OmniFocus from the Omni Group. It's a Mac app to organize your ideas and to-dos. You can create, inside this app, you can create folders of things you need to do, then projects, and then things there, and then do another sub kind of to do and then make notes for it and put due dates and things like that. So with me, I had so many projects going on, from business creative to YouTube to Monday Club to 2 shows I'm touring with. Not as much as CJ, but I'm trying to get up there. It's a great way to keep my projects in order and what I need to do next. And also, I just have a lot of crazy ideas that I want to get to that I need to store somewhere. So I put them all there, and it's a great way to kind of keep my ideas organized and also know when I'm looking for that next thing to work on, I can look through there and pick my next great idea. Hopefully great.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Mine is this, peeps, is that I've noticed a lot of people in my life that hit the snooze button, and I don't understand the snooze button. Are you guys snooze button users?
No, I hate it.
CJ?
I do use it from time to time, but I'm a multiple. The more alarms I set, the better I sleep.
I don't
so
get it because
if I have to be up, like tomorrow, I have to be up at like 3:30 to make a 6 o'clock flight, and I will set at least 3 alarms, and that way I know that I'll sleep well instead of waking up going, oh my god.
Yeah, I hate it because if you have to wake up at 6. Why do you snooze for a half hour? You could have gotten a half an hour of real sleep and just woken up at 6:30.
Yeah, so Pete, I hear you, man. So
I
know a lot of people that do the snooze thing. So they'll set their alarm at 6 and then have to get up at 6:30, and so there's like 3 alarms that happen in between there. For me, it's terrifying. If the alarm goes off, I just pop up. I just make myself sit up, and that's it. Now, CJ, I'm also with you. I do also set like 3 alarms, even though 99.9% of the time I never use any more than that 1 alarm that I set. I just feel better knowing that they're out there, so that if I accidentally hit snooze instead of stop and then accidentally go back to sleep, which has happened to me, then at least I know I'm not totally screwed.
Right. So I feel like this might be a little passive aggressive because I know that we've shared a lot of hotel rooms and I've hit the snooze button. But, but look, you can just say that straight to my face, man. You don't have to bring me on a podcast to say that.
So stop doing that, CJ.
All right, that's cool. No, I use it, but I'll generally, if I have to be up at 3, then I'll set an alarm for 3 and for 3:05 and for 3:10. Mm-hmm. And then I'll also set one for 3:05, knowing that 3:05 is the time I'm going to wake up. I'll set the physical alarm. Those first 3 will be on my phone. The physical alarm clock will be for 3:05. If I'm in a hotel, the wake-up call will be for 3:05. Most of the time, if that's the order of things, my first alarm is at 3 o'clock. I will wake up on my own at 2:58 or 2:59.
Yep,
and wake up and turn that alarm off.
Yep.
And especially when I'm at home, for some reason, I always wake up, or usually wake up and silence that alarm before it disturbs Kim. So,
yeah, cool.
Yeah,
that's my teachable moment.
Yeah, CJ. So, do you have any teachable moments? Some any things that you can impart on our Monday Club land? Anything we can learn from?
Yeah, I was like, man, a teachable moment. So here's my. This was a big one. This was potentially a huge mistake I made once. So this was early in the days of cell phones, and I had a guy who called, and he had that telemarketer voice, where it's like, "Hi, this is so and so from the Fraternal Order of Police," and I was like, "Hey, man, this is my." As soon as he got that far, I was like, "Hey, this is my cell phone, and don't call me on this phone." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a cell phone. It costs me money when you call me. Please take me off your list." He's like, "Well, what do you got against cops?" I'm like, "I don't have nothing against cops. My best friend's dad was a cop. My wife's dad was a cop. I don't have anything. Just please take me off your list. Don't call me anymore." He's like, "Well, this is a weird way to run a business." I was like, "Whatever." And I hung up on him. About 3 minutes later, my wife calls me and she's like, "Hey, did that guy from the FOP call you about booking those shows?"
Oh, man. Oh.
Yeah. So the promoter that I work with for the last 24 years books me 80 shows a year. And this turns out this guy was a promoter like them. So I potentially gave away hundreds of thousands of dollars in that one assumption of get off my phone.
Wow.
And I've never done that since.
Wow.
Did you get the gig later, or
no? I was sick to my stomach. It's like, how do you recover from that? You know, there's no
you grovel. And
there's
apologize.
there's no recovering. Yeah. So
man,
I would have made up a story. I've been getting lots of prank calls from people wanting money, and I apologize. I was.
Yeah, I mean, because we went head to head about it, because the guy was, he was like really pissed that I didn't want to talk to him, and I was like, look, man, and like I'm quoting the telemarketing laws to him and stuff, and
that's really funny.
Yeah, it was beyond what we just said here, but it was me really pushing back, like, don't f***ing call me, and. Yeah.
So never assume, Monday Club. Get the lowdown before you hang up.
That's
on your
right.
clients.
That's right.
Oh, that was an epic, amazing, wonderful, marvelous episode 54, the CJ Johnson episode. Thank you so much, CJ, for being on Monday Club and being listening as well.
Yeah, we love you, CJ. Thank you so much, brother.
I love you guys. You're amazing.
Oh, that's so sweet. Love you, CJ.
And we love you, Monday Club. We'll see you next week. Happy Monday. Oh my goodness, Monday Club, that was awesome! Hey, make sure you follow us on MondayClubPodcast.com, Facebook.com/MondayClubPodcast, Twitter @MondayClubPod, Instagram @MondayClubPodcast. Email us, MondayClubPodcast@gmail.com. That's also where you can buy us a drink. We want to say a huge thank you to CJ Johnson for being on the show. CJ, you're awesome. You can follow CJ at Hypnotic1 on Twitter, or you can check out his website, cjjohnson.com. Also, a huge thank you to James Caldwell, our sound engineer, and of course, Zach Holder for our music. Last but certainly not least, you all out there, Monday Clubbers. We appreciate you, and we will see you next week. Happy Monday.